Catus. Maximus here, this time with a quick review of the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh Bubblegum and Booger Gasket Scraper Set. These aren't too expensive, although they're a little bit more pricey on the shelf than some of the other scrapers, around, I think around 12 bucks or something regular price. Anyway, these are heavy-duty nylon scrapers, and or they say composite. So what we can see here is that actually it looks like they are fiberglass reinforced. And what kind of gives you that evidence of all the stringiness here when they're molding it, because the plastic actually has fiberglass, just like the insulation in your wall. It's a form of reinforcing. So these ought to be pretty strong and rigid, and they even advertise that because of the fiberglass, you should be able to use or they do recommend using a file to be able to resharpen them. If you work at a K through 12 school system, then these can certainly become quite handy for scraping all sorts of special things from the underneath desks and other scraping activities. The whole idea is these are just a bit softer. These are like plastic fingernails, and so basically if something like this doesn't work, then you're going to have to use a metal scraper. You could potentially use something like a copper, brass, or aluminum to be something in between the hardness of plastic and a steel scraper or a razor blade scraper. And so that's kind of the point of these. They have a few different sizes. What's kind of odd is they have three smaller sizes: 3/4, 7/8, and a 1 inch, and then they have this big old wide 1.5 inch. So I don't know why they're not more evenly spaced. They actually seem pretty robust. Even these thin ones, those are also used for automotive. There's a variety of situations in which you can use these types of scrapers, you know, for removing labels, stickers. There are tools known as spudgers. So many plastic assembled items, electronic items have little plastic clips that hold them together, and so these would just be a real heavy-duty version. If you repair cell phones, these would actually be an option. You may even like cut off the handle if you're repairing cell phones with these, and these would just provide you a really heavy-duty plastic tool to get under those screens or back covers, and realizing they could actually be pretty handy. And so also, you know, when you're working with softer gaskets, removing rubber gaskets, you may use these. And so that's kind of the reason I picked them up. All right, here we are. You do want to be careful of these when you're using these tools. Don't, you know, try to avoid using them going towards your body or towards your hand, even though they're plastic. These can still cut you. And the other technique is, since they are plastic, you're going to use a much steeper angle to try to drive it into the surface a little harder. These can work for getting sap off, but you just see on a normal sticker you'll have a hard time, but as soon as you start driving it in, start getting a sticker off there, and it would be a bear to actually do it the whole way. You might use these in conjunction with additional heat. Otherwise, that's all they are. And that's why they're really good for boogers and bubble gum. The other problem with stickers is, of course, they want to re-stick and build up. So you want maybe spray some alcohol or even a little bit of oil on it. That way it prevents it from wanting to re-stick to the sticker. The only other suggestion I could say with these is take a file or a sander. And actually a sander would probably be the best way to sharpen these. Would be easy to get a real nice sharp edge on that. Is to sand maybe a square or just at least a couple of flats, because that's the one issue, is these things want to roll around. So it'd be nice if there are a couple flats. Unfortunately, that's something you can easily fix at home. So that's all there really is to it. Plastic scrapers do have a place, and these, is, you know, are going to be similar to a lot of others. I'm actually kind of surprised. These were not too bad, and they actually seem to be molded pretty well. The molds are actually pretty tight. There's just a very thin flashing on the edge, so that's also a good sign. And they're not like totally warped. As we can see here, all these are maybe not perfectly straight. Maybe this one right here isn't quite perfect, but they're all more than reasonably straight. So that's something else nice to see. And of course, for automotive uses, automotive trim, interior trim pieces, these things would go right along with the other plastic tool sets, just because they end up being a strong flat blade that allows you to slowly get in the handles, pry them apart. You can do twisting action, a lot of plastic on the interiors and even exterior trim. It's all snap-on, so, or it uses metal clips that sit over the edge of the sheet metal, and this will get right up in there and ensure you're not damaging the paint while being able to release the clips. And that's kind of the deal, is that they're going to be strong enough to be usable, but kind of take most of the punishment. Damage will happen to the tool rather than what you're working on. And I can see certain types of wiring harnesses and connectors. It could also be definitely beneficial. So as you have these, you kind of find more and more uses where plastic chisels could come in handy. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And don't hesitate to leave any comments. I really appreciate that. And maybe even check out my Teespring store. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.